and you sift it onto your work surface. You want powdered sugar so the fondant doesn't stick. I use powdered sugar instead of cornstarch because you're adding sweetness into the fondant as opposed to that starchy kind of flavor, which a lot of people prefer to use. It has the same kind of non-sticking effect, but it doesn't have the same pleasurable tasting effect. You need to kind of knead or condition the fondant a little bit. Until it's nice and smooth and ready to go. We spend many hours every week tinting fondant because we're usually matching little swatches that people bring in. If it's a wedding cake, we have a fabric swatch or an invitation. So we're trying to match food to paper or linen, which is not the easiest task to do. So we will spend hours sometimes making one color. We love it when it's white or some shade of pink, doesn't really matter. But when it has to be exactly, that's difficult. Then you want to roll out your fondant to an even, consistent thickness, which is 1/4 inch or less. The thicker the fondant, the worse it will taste. So if you have been to a place that had a fondant cake and you didn't like it, check the thickness. If they put it on that thick, that's part of the reason, because you're chomping into something that's pretty not attractive to eat. Even good fondant, if it's a 1/2 inch thick, isn't really going to be that appealing. And try not to transfer too much of the powdered sugar to the top surface because it changes the look of the fondant. And I like to move it around frequently so it doesn't get stuck. It's always on top of powdered sugar. And you don't really want to spend too much time doing this because it will start to dry out and it will get a crust or a skin over the top surface. Once that skin forms and you try to move it, it will wrinkle and look like elephant skin. Another really attractive thing on a cake. So this is one of the reasons why a lot of places don't even offer fondant, because they don't have somebody there who really is skilled at doing it properly, because there are a lot of little things that you need to do and be able to do quickly in order for it to look right and taste right. It's also an added expense, so some places just don't have it. I think it adds a really nice effect to a cake. It makes it look even smoother. Can make it look shiny if you add pearlization to it at the end, which is something you'll see in a minute. It's a colorless powder that has a shimmer to it, so when it catches the light, it glistens like glitter. You need to measure the height of your cake, which in this case is 3.5 inches. Since we have 2 sides, we double that, so we have 7. It's an 8-inch cake, so 7 plus 8 is 15, so we need a 15-inch piece of fondant. I've got 16, so I'm good to go. And some people prefer to roll this up on the rolling pin and then unroll it over here. I like to just pick it up, set it down. It's a little bit faster, so you save a little time. Move that out of the way so you can see. Now to get this onto the cake, you're just going to use your one hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm using my left hand to shake out the wrinkles, and my right hand to just guide it, coax it to touch the buttercream, and it will stick to the buttercream. So a fondant-covered cake by us is covered in the 2 layers of buttercream and then a layer of fondant. 2 reasons. One is if somebody there at the party doesn't like fondant, they can peel it right off of their piece and they still have a buttercream iced piece of cake to eat. Number 2 is if you don't put the buttercream on there, the cake itself will show through the fondant and it will not look appealing. And people who do like fondant get 2 layers of icing, buttercream and fondant. And you really don't have a huge amount of fondant on one individual piece of cake, unless you're square cake and you got the corner, and you got all icing and no cake, which is okay with some people. Once you've gotten the whole way around, I like to smooth the top edge a little bit, the inside of my knuckles. That helps to smooth out any little tiny fine lines, imperfections in the fondant. And then a little pizza cutter. And that is going to trim off all of our excess. As closely to the base of the cake as you can. So already the cake has transformed in appearance. All of this becomes scrap fondant that we use for decorations. So we'll use it for borders, we'll use it to cut things out, we'll use it for hand modeling, we'll use it for covering cake models that we put in the front window, but we don't use it to cover a cake. Get rid of any